We want to welcome you guys to this week's Zoom call or this week's live stream. It's been a really good week. It's been a challenging week, but it has been a fitting week for the topic of this week's conversation. This week, we're going to talk about something that I think is very keen for most people in real estate investing or just in any career that you do. We're going to talk about the power of persistence. What does the word persistence mean? You know, we've heard that word, we've used that word, but what does it mean to be persistent in your endeavor? And more specifically, what does it mean to be persistent in your real estate endeavors? Most people start out in real estate investing, especially in people that we've known over the last couple of years. They start out off with the ideal of wanting to be real estate wholesalers. Anybody who has done any wholesaling will tell you that it is a true testament of how persistent you can be. How many challenges can you overcome? Because you're going to run into so many different dead ends and bumps in the road as a real estate wholesaler and investor that if you aren't strong in this arena, sometimes you'll stop before you get to the goal. We're going to talk about that again. I'm Ken. Bunny and I are happy to be doing these weekly live Zoom calls with you guys, these weekly live YouTube calls, wherever you're tuning in from. We're just happy to be able to come to you guys and to share this knowledge that we're getting and being able to pass it on to you. As we talk about the ideal of persistence this week, it is very ironic, I guess, because is one of the challenges that we have is maintaining a persistent demeanor with making these Zoom calls, being able to set aside the time week after week, not only to get on these calls, but to set aside time to plan these calls, to plan the content that we want to talk about, and watching the videos from previous weeks to make sure that we're doing things to get better as content creators and making sure that we're bringing you guys like high level content. So one of the things that we really wanted to talk about was like, how do you embrace persistence in real estate investing? But I guess to start off, what is persistence? And, you know, it's not just sticking to your goals. You know, as we start off the new year, a lot of us made New Year's resolutions, and probably the biggest challenge for most of us with keeping our New Year's resolutions or our New Year goals is going to be having some persistence, being able to have that staying power, being able to continue to do the thing that we say we were going to do day in and day out, sticking to that diet, sticking to that budget, sticking to that gym plan that we set aside, that we said we were going to do. You know, I signed up for a race coming up in February. And one of the things that I learned with myself is that if I want to get into shape, if I want to get out and start running, it always helps me to have a race that I'm already signed up for. If I'm already signed up to go out and do a race, I am more likely to go out and achieve that goal than I am if I'm just relying on my willpower to get out and go run. Because as soon as I get tired, as soon as there's a bad day, I don't. And I've been a victim of that. You know, this last couple of days we've had snow on the ground. It's been below freezing weather, and I have not gone to the gym, y'all. I have not had the persistence and the staying power to continue going to the gym. But one of the things that I know is that before I get ready for this race, I have to set aside a good chunk of time to start working out, start running, and to start meal prepping, to start making sure that I'm doing all the things to get my body into the peak performance, into the peak performance condition that I needed to be in for me to actually go out and run this race and to make sure that I'm going to be competitive in this race. So what does it mean to be persistent? You know, and I'm going to pull up my notes here. You know, it's what I wrote down is the key to overcoming challenges and achieving long-term success in real estate. Now, again, most of us start out our real estate. Most of the people who follow our channel in the past have been wholesalers. You know, we are looking to move more into talking to your fix and flippers and your long-term buy and hold investors as well. But historically, when you look at this channel, we've predominantly talked to wholesalers. And the one thing that we learned with wholesaling is that if you don't practice persistence, you fail. And a lot of people fail before they even get to their first deal. You know, a lot of people are so close to their first deal. You know, they've sent out all the contracts. And for whatever reason, whether it be they ran out of money, they ran out of ambition, they started to think that it didn't work, or someone dangled another shiny object in front of them and they ran off to go chase after that object. But whatever it is, you know, a lot of times we run into setbacks that will challenge our persistence, our staying power, our ability to continue to move forward. And in 2024, we don't want that to be a challenge for us. We don't want that to be the reason why we don't achieve our goals in 2024 to be because we didn't harness the ability to be persistent. So some of the things we want to talk about is persistence means keeping our momentum. Even when the market is down, even when challenges arrive, one of the things that we ran into in 2023 was interest rates went up. The Feds kept changing the interest rates, and we knew a lot of people who just said, I'm going to get out of real estate investing for a while because the interest rates changed. And understandable for some, but if every little setback is going to be the thing that challenges you to the point where you give up, then maybe this is not the endeavor for you. Maybe there's something else that you should be spending your time on, because you're going to build up momentum to allow yourself to crash, and then you're going to have to come back and build that momentum up again. And we have this saying, it says, I think I heard this saying the other day. It said, every setback is a setup for a comeback, right? Every setback is a setup for a comeback.
I like that.
So every time you run into a challenge, every time you run into some reason why you can't or aren't doing whatever it is that you need to be doing, remember that this is just an opportunity for you to make another comeback, right? Mm-hmm. The best football games, and I'll go back to sports because, and I told you guys, I don't really watch sports, but I love the lessons that you can learn from sporting events. Every sporting team, every great sports team has had a moment where they had a setback, a challenge that questioned whether or not they would be the championship level team that they all aim to be, right? But then there are those moments where the setback that they come into, it sets them up for an amazing comeback. And we all love a great comeback story, right? We all love a great story of the underdog that came from 10 points behind to win the match. So that's going to be you. That needs to be you in your real estate investing career. You had a setback. Maybe for somebody, you went through a bankruptcy. For somebody, you had some financial challenges that was a setback. But that sets you up for a comeback. Believe and know that there are still funding opportunities out there for you that don't require you to have perfect credit. There are still funding opportunities out there for you that are based on the property that you're going to go after. There are deals still out there. There are great, amazing deals still out there. Matter of fact, because we just got finished with this cold front, this crazy cold front that came through this year, we got snow on the ground still here in the Middle Tennessee area. There's still people snowed into their homes. But you better believe that there are people who right now realize how bad the installation in their home was. Somebody realized how drafty that home was, and they do not want to go through another winter in that home. So for the next year, or for the next 10 months or so, they're going to be trying to figure out a way to get out of the home, to get out of the circumstances that they just had to go through. And for you, that's a setup for a comeback. You need to be reaching out to these people in these older homes, reaching out to people who live in these homes that may have been affected negatively by this cold front. So every setback is a setup for a comeback.
Nice. I mean, that's so true, because it's super cold out. You've got 10, 12, 2 degrees sometimes in the morning, like over the last week. And living in a drafty, cold home is one of the quickest reasons why you want to move out. I'm gonna put my hand up. I've been in an old house where I was luckily not buying, but I was renting it at the time, and it was so cold all the time. The whole winter it was cold, and we had space heaters running constantly, and it was freezing cold in there, even with the space heaters going. And I tell you what, we didn't last very long. We didn't make it another winter there, okay? And with your electric bill going to the roof, is a perfect opportunity for you to seize the opportunity to help them out and serve that person with a solution.
Yes, yes, that is so true. You know, persistence in real estate is really all about seeing the rejections, the failures, all of these different opportunities for growth, right? Being able to switch your mindset and say, okay, that rejection was an opportunity for me to grow. That failure was an opportunity for me to grow. That contract that fell out or that expired was an opportunity for me to grow. What can I learn from this? What can I do better the next time to make sure that this doesn't happen again, or that I at least reduce the opportunity of it happening again? You have to understand and know that there are greater days ahead. Okay, there are greater days ahead. The days where you have to worry about your negotiating skills, that's going to get few and far in between the better you get at negotiating. The more you negotiate, the better of a negotiator you will be. The more you offer and make contracts and send out contracts on properties, the better you're going to get at making offers and sending out contracts. Before you know it, the thing that was a sore point, the thing that was a setback or a rejection or an obstacle will no longer be an obstacle. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't have obstacles. It just means that your obstacles are going to change. And I'd rather have bigger, better obstacles to go against than to still be dealing with the same obstacles a year later, right? So, how do you stay motivated? You know, how do we be consistent in our efforts to make sure that we can last through the winters, so that we can make sure that we can get to spring and we can see the budding fruit of our efforts and the fruit of our labor. Um,
I mean, just to kind of like thinking about that is like a lot of time people say that this is the time that it slows down, that real estate really slows down. But just because some people are slowing down don't mean that you have to. You need to build the momentum, because once you build the momentum, it's a lot easier to go down. Okay. Yeah. So once you have it going, so it's a lot easier to keep in motion with the item that's already moving. Okay. It's hard once you stop and you stop putting out your marketing. You don't want to ever stop your marketing. You want to continue with that, because that's part of that momentum, that making calls if you're choosing to make calls, putting out ads if you're putting out ads, whatever it is that you're doing, driving for dollars, whatever that marketing that you're doing, you want to ramp up. You want to continue to move and continue to make it go, because the second you stop, it's going to be 10 times harder to push it forward. Trust us. We know from experience that it's a lot harder to get that momentum going once you stop. So don't get one contract, get 3 contracts. Don't get 3, get 4, get 5, get 6, and just keep on the momentum so that you can go ahead and get where you're trying to go.
Yes, that's exactly right. And you guys, there's a Bible verse in Corinthians, and I was looking for it. I thought I had it in my notes, but I don't see it. But there's a Bible verse where Paul has written a letter to the people of Corinth, the Corinthians, and he talks about perseverance and running your race.
And that's one of my favorite verses.
And I love that. I love that verse because once you know the background of the story, you can really understand what he was saying in it. And I'll put it in the comments. So if you want to know the verse, go check out the comments, and I'll make sure that I put it in there. But the people of Corinth, they were Olympians, they were racers, they were runners. They were known for being runners, and he was writing them and telling them to stay to have endurance and perseverance to run their race. And the thing that I think is funny, or is key to understand, is that being persistent and having endurance are not exactly the same, right? Having endurance means that you have the strength, or you have something within you that can give you the power to continue to move forward, even when you feel like you've tapped into all of the resources that you have, right? You've already expended the energy that you feel like you have, but endurance means that I have enough energy to make it from point A to point B. Perseverance is being able to continue to move even when you've exhausted all of the energy that you have. I've already gone through all of the energy that I have. How do I manage to keep going? So in real estate investing, what does that mean? You've exhausted all of the money that you have for real estate investing. Let's say that's your problem, right? How do you find a way to keep going? Is it partnering with someone? Is it networking more? Is it joint venturing with someone? Is it finding free ways to do the things that you would have paid for? These are ways that you can have perseverance. Now, endurance is I closed the deal. I got 10 grand. Now I have this 10 grand is the endurance I need to get me to the next deal. How do I use this money adequately to get me to the next deal? Perseverance is I don't have anything. I've already used what I have. What can I tap into? What can I rely on to get me to the next level? And believe it or not, a lot of the answers can be found in the Word of God. We are big on searching for in the Word for strategies and for tips on how to live this life, right? The Bible is a collection of stories, yes, but it is really a how-to manual on how to live life. Jesus showed us how to live a perfect life, and we're constantly striving to be more like him. And believe it or not, in the Bible, there are tons of times where there are individuals who had to tap into some type of perseverance to be able to get to where they wanted to be, right? And that is what we have to do in our day-to-day life. Like in 1 Corinthians 16, verse 16, chapter 16, verse 13, says, be on your guard, stand firm in faith, be courageous and be strong. Right? This encourages us to have strength and courage and firmness in faith. Right? So if you have faith that real estate investing is the thing that God is calling you to do, or one of the things that God is calling you to do, maybe it's not the end all be all that He has for you in His will, but it could definitely be the seed or the foundation that you and your family are meant to stand on while you get to the next level that He intends for you to be on. So how do you have faith in that? How do you continue to believe even when things are getting challenging, that this is going to be the thing that is going to get my family to generational wealth? It's going to get my family to break that curse or that bondage of financial issues and problems that we've dealt with for generation and generation. Some of us come from a bloodline of financial problems. Our parents may not have been the best with money. Their parents may not have been the best with money. Someone didn't teach someone about money, but it has to start with somebody.
Yeah.
And we all have to have that perseverance to say, well, I'm going to be the last one that this is a problem for. How do I persevere past that?
And I was reading in Ecclesiastics this morning, and it was actually talking about why do you work? Like, who are you, like, dipping out. Who are you working for? Like it talks about, and I'm going to find, I can't remember which book it was in off the top of my head, but it was going, and I'll put it in the chat as well, but it was going over pretty much the why, how it's so important for us to have the why, right? And it's talking about having the why for your family. Like you do this for your family, right? It's not like the person that is just doing it to be doing it. That is like, it's vanity, is what it said. It's like a vapor in the wind. It disappears very quickly. So when we can hone in on what our why is and why are we actually doing this, I do it for my family. I want to build something that I can leave behind.
Yeah.
I'm building something that my family is going to be able to live on. I'm building something so that I can be home with my kids. And yeah, some of them are a little bit older, but we have the almost 2-year-old and we have a college student. So how do I make sure that my college student is good? And how do I also make sure that my almost 2-year-old is going to have the next 16 years comfortable and being able to do all the things that he's going to be able to do? I'm doing this. I'm building something up. I'm building whatever it is that you are trying to build. If you do not have your why you are doing it, it's vanity. It won't mean anything. Have your why and figure out why you're doing it and have a strong reason why you're doing, because times will get harder. Every day is not sunshine. Every day is not the summer. Sometimes we're in the winter, and sometimes we have to be reminded. We have to be able to look over and say, "Oh, I'm doing this for my kids. I'm doing this for so my spouse will be able to quit their job because they come home every day and they're tired and they're not happy. Why are you doing it? Why are you doing it?" I think that to me is going to be how you what makes it so much easier to continue is when you have a strong why. So I urge everybody who is listening now and who's listening later to figure out what your why is and hold on to it.
That is so good. You know, we talked about having a strong why back in I think 2 weeks ago, the beginning of 2024. That was one of the biggest things that we talked about was, what is your why? How do we know what our why is? And if we've lost focus of what our why is, how do we regain that focus? And I think that that's important for us to do every so often, you know, throughout the year, throughout the month, throughout the day, refocus ourselves on what it is that we are doing and why we are doing it. Like Money said, you know, one of our biggest whys is our children. One of our biggest whys is wanting to set up something that is generational that can outlast us. One of our biggest whys is wanting to be able to be a blessing to others, right? I do really believe that it is possible for us to be blessed, to be a blessing. And I believe that God blesses us to be a blessing. You know, a lot of times we're blessed not for our own benefit, but for the benefit of someone that we may not even know. You know, the business owner is blessed because he's able to give a job to the employee who's then able to take care of their child, who may go off to be the person that cures some disease that we've never even heard of, right? So sometimes we are blessed to be a blessing to others, and that is one of my whys.
Yeah, and I think that's so important is to serve others. You know, I mean, and when you're talking about you're building this business so that you can bring and hire other people in, I think that's a beautiful thing because now you're going to be feeding not only your family, but now you've been able to expand in on your why. Okay, so now I'm not just feeding my family, I feed 5 families. I'm not just feeding 5 families, I'm feeding 30 families. You know, and so and not only am I able to serve the people that work for me or work with me, I'm also able to serve the people with a service that they actually need.
Yes.
That they want. Not just a service that they think they may need, possibly, or you got to convince them on. No, sometimes you just need to serve them where they're at. I'm just going to drop that and marinate on it real quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you know, there are several strategies that you can take to actually cultivate perseverance, or persistence, as we said it in the beginning. And is again is an important thing to note that persistence is not inherently a trait that we all have, but it's a skill that we can all build upon, right? And what I mean by that is, you not everyone just is born with perseverance, with the ability to persist. You have some people who it just comes natural for them to just keep pushing forward and keep pushing forward until they get to their goal. And crazy enough, you know, in modern times, we've labeled those people to be eccentric. You know, the person who is, we say they have tunnel vision. They only can see their outcome. In some cases, that is exactly what we have to do to be able to reach the goal that we've set for ourselves. Sometimes we have to be able to tap into some form of resilience to be, especially in investing. In anything investing, you have to be able to be tunnel visioned enough to see the end goal and to block out all of the other stuff that's going on around you. You're going to have so many distractions. You know, a lot of us works regular 9 to 5s. Me and Bunny don't. You know, we've been blessed at this point in our career to not have to work a regular 9 to 5. You know, but we did. And when we did work a regular 9 to 5, it was daunting being able to come home and spend time writing letters or writing envelopes or driving for dollars after working a long shift. getting on the phone with people after working a long shift, getting told no 15 times in the evening after working a long shift is a daunting task. It's a very hard task to have to do, especially considering when you get off work, you just want to go home and go to sleep. Sometimes you just want to go home and eat. Sometimes you just want to go home and lay on the couch. Sometimes you just want to go home and not think about having to do anything that has to do with being an adult.
I used to just want to go home and be mush.
Yep.
I just wanted to melt.
I wanted
to melt on the couch. I just wanted to be there. I just wanted to be like, people come and talk to me, and I just want to, I don't even want to talk. That's all I wanted to be, just mush on the couch. I didn't I didn't want to do anything. And so when you're feeling like that, it's like you have to press through those moments, so that you can get to a point where you don't have to feel like you just want to be mush on the couch.
Yeah, that's really good. Don't be mush on the couch, y'all. Every now and then it's okay to be mush on the couch, but if you're gonna really focus on being successful in 2024, we can't be mush on the couch every single day.
It's okay to rest, because even God talks about us having a day of rest.
Yeah.
And rest is super important, but pick a day for that. Make it make sense. Maybe you just have your one day that you're just like, I do nothing. This is my for real day off, where I'm just going to, just kind of just do whatever it is that's not work related. I'm going to clear my mind. Maybe I'll think about work. Maybe I'll jot some thoughts down, but I'm not going to go deep into depth into it. I'm just going to relax. I'm going to take time. Maybe that's the day you sleep in. Maybe you don't have to get up at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning on that day. You can just that's for me. Okay, I'm talking to myself, y'all.
Yes, talking out loud.
I wake up very early, so on certain days when I lay in the bed, if I'm in the bed past like 7, I'm sleeping in. Okay, I normally get up at like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So but definitely have a time of rest, but make it make sense. Like,
yeah,
make it like schedule it in so it makes sense.
But I tell you this though, the time to rest is not when there's stuff to get done sometimes. The time to rest,
make it make sense.
We have a mentor, our online mentor that we listen to a lot, and one of the things he always talks about is that he doesn't want to watch the person win the game. He wants to be the person that other people watch win at the game.
Yes.
And if you're going to be the person that is going to win the game, you have to learn from the person that's playing the game, right? But you got to learn from the greats. Kobe was so great. And I love referencing Kobe, because Kobe was great at his sport because of his passion and his perseverance. He was the guy who would come off the sideline and tape his fingers up after jamming his fingers and then go back and finish the game and still score 80 points. He was the guy who would come in and put up 500 free throw shots or 500 shots before the game even started. While other people are saying, I'm saving my shoulder for the game. I'm trying not to be tired before the game. That's true endurance, and that's true perseverance. Okay, and how do we do that in our real estate journey? Like, how do we become the person that made 500 phone calls before we even started our day? And I don't know if that's possible, really, but how do you be the person that has that mindset that I'm going to do whatever it takes for me to get to where I want to be? And listen, we're saying things that we struggle with too. Okay, so don't for a minute think that we don't struggle with this on a day-to-day basis. But I think that is part of the human experience, is that we struggle with something day to day, and we have to find a way to overcome it, right? So one thing is, like we said, regularly reviewing and adjusting what your goals are, regularly reviewing things and to ensure that you can remain relevant and that they're still motivating to you. I talked about SMART goals. They, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. Over the course of the year, you should be constantly reviewing your SMART goals and making sure that there's still the SMART goals that are relevant for you in this current season. Well, right?
Yeah.
It is like planting. You plant a crop. We're getting ready to go into that time frame. Plant a crop so that you can harvest it in the summertime. You don't necessarily plant corn and expect to harvest it the same week. It takes 90 days. You got to know that when you put it into the ground, you know that it's going to take 90 days. But not only does it take 90 days, for that 90 days, you got to get up and you got to water it. You got to go and weed it. You got to keep pests off of it. You got to keep animals away from it. You got to fertilize it. And then you got to check on it. You got to make sure that it's getting pollinated. You got to do all of these things in that 90-day period just so you can get a couple of ears of corn off of that stock come 90 days.
Can I throw a little wrench in there? Just a little bit.
I'll go.
So that's true. It does take the 90 days, but the part that's 90 days in perfect conditions. Okay, that is 90 days with perfect conditions. That's 90 days if you had done all the stuff you need to do, you prepared the right ground, you planted it at the right time. But if it doesn't get hot enough, or you not paying attention that it look like it's about to storm real bad and the clouds are looking real thick up there, you know, you go and plant your crops, and then a big storm comes and drowns them out or washes them away. Like, these are perfect conditions. So the 90 days can easily turn into, you know, a few more days if it's not in perfect conditions. Okay. So while we have the perfect thing that can happen if all things happen, we also have to keep in mind that what happens if all the things don't happen.
I'm so glad that you said that like that, because when you were saying that, the first thing that popped in my head was, you know, we'll look at someone else's success and say, well, because I haven't achieved what they've achieved in the time frame that they achieved it, I must not be doing something right. And that could be true, but you could be planting a different crop than what they're planting, or your condition could be off, right? Someone else has the perfect condition. They already had money. They already had a network. They already had leads. They already had a mentor that walked them through it. They already had joint venture partners. Mm-hmm. They already had all of these different things. So yes, from the outside looking in, you see that they got this perfect harvest, and you wonder, well, why haven't I gotten that harvest? I've done the same thing in the same 30 days. No, you didn't have the same condition and the same network that they had.
Skill, because maybe they came from insurance. I used to sell life insurance, and maybe they come from that environment where they're used to making 100 calls, and they already know how to make the phone calls.
That's true.
So there you are, who doesn't have the experience, the skills, the wisdom that they already possess. So their outcome will be different because they're not having to learn the new skill. They're not having to level to that level. They're not having to become the person that's needed to do the job. They already are that person. So it's okay that you're still becoming the person, but you cannot compare yourself to the person to your left, the person to your right. The only person you need to compare yourself to is yourself. Because when you compare yourself, you're either going to feel superior or inferior.
So good. That's so good. And it brings me back to that verse. I'm gonna look it up and put it in the comments. That verse when Paul was writing to the people of Corinth, you know, he said to run your race, not looking to the left or to the right. Run your race. Absolutely. If you get too focused on what's going on to the left or the right, don't compare yourself to us. Okay, Bunny and I have been doing this since 2018. And trust, we're not where we wanted, what we thought that we should be at. There's people who started at the same time that we started that are farther ahead of us. And there's people who started when we started that have fallen to the wayside. And if we had to focus on too much on either one of them, we would have focused on the person who we feel is ahead of us. Again, that's us feeling inferior to someone, right? And we would say that, oh, well, because they're already a multimillionaire, that we need to go ahead and quit because we haven't achieved what they've achieved in the same amount of time. Well, then we would be wrong, because we're only one deal away from being the same multimillionaire. And then we would focus on the person who's already quit, and we'll say, oh, well, if they couldn't do it, I surely can't do it. Yeah. Or I'm glad I'm doing better than them, and then I've already achieved it. You know, so it's like we can't get too focused on what someone else is doing, because it messes us up and messes up our race.
So in track, when my oldest son was doing track, his coach used to always say, don't look back. He'd be yelling, don't look back, because the second you're looking back, you're now not running your race. You're trying to run somebody else's race, and it slows you up. When you compare yourself to yourself, only thing you can see is progress.
Yeah.
So only thing you see when I compare me to me, when we compare where we are to where we've come from, all I can see is the space of growth.
Yeah. That is so good. So for somebody out there, what she's saying right now is this: compare yourself to who you were 6 months ago, 4 months ago, 2 months ago, the end of 2023. For somebody that's gonna watch this video, you hadn't even sent out a contract 6 months ago, and now you have. You hadn't even gotten a property under contract, and now you have. You hadn't even had a deal under contract for it to fail, and now you have. A failure is not a failure until you quit. Okay, a failure is a stumbling block, maybe. It's a learning opportunity, definitely, but it's not a failure until you determine that it's a failure and you quit.
Yeah.
But up until that point, your failures are not failures. You don't have to label them as such. You get to choose what label you attach to the events that happen in your real estate investing career. Again, the person that filed that may have had to foreclose or had to evict somebody, that was a stumbling block. You got a bad tenant. There's good tenants out there, though. You know that there's good tenants out there because when you look to the left and right, you see somebody else doing something. You say, well, I wish I had a tenant like them. Maybe if I had gotten to a better house. That could be true, but you could just need a better tenant.
A lot of this, honestly, you guys, I would highly suggest you read in Ecclesiastics, because half of what we're talking about is in Ecclesiastics. Like I was literally reading, like I wish I had all the scriptures memorized, because every time Ken is saying something, I almost want to be like, oh, I just read that.
Yep.
And I read just the first 10 chapters. So read it, because
chapter 12 is my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm saying to that is just like, so the scripture I was talking about earlier, I found it real quick. It was Ecclesiastes 9, chapter 9. Verse 9 is what I'm going to actually just tell you guys real quick. It was, I'm going to read it in the NLT. Live happily with the woman you love through all the meaningless days of life that God has given you under the sun. The wife God gives you is your reward for all your earthly toil. Okay, so your family is why you work hard. Toil is not just like, oh, I'm just working. No, it's working hard. It's laborious, right? So it's the relationship. It's your spouse. It's your children. That is the reward. Is when you get to spend time and enjoy them. And if you don't have one, you're setting up getting ready for one. Are you looking for what you had looked for?
Yeah. I figured I'd Google it real quick while you were talking.
So when you're just live and be happy. It's about the happy times. It's about the moments. It's about those vacations you about to take. It's about laying up in the sun with the beach, and seeing your family run around happy, yelling and having a blast. Like, it's moments like that are your true enjoyment and your true reward.
That's so true. And it's funny because you say your true enjoyment and true reward, and one of the verses that popped up was 2 Timothy 4:7, where Paul is talking about, I fought the good fight and I finished the race and kept the faith. And at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, that's exactly what we want to be able to say, right? That we fought the good fight, we finished our race, and that we kept the faith. And if you can say that at the end of your real estate career, that you fought the fight, you finished your race, and you kept the faith, you'll be successful. I can't guarantee you anything, but what I'm reading in the Bible guarantees that is how we make sure that we can say that we had a joyful and a successful and a well lived life. So we're talking about perseverance here, right? How to have perseverance, how to be persistent in your real estate endeavors, and again, keeping your faith. So here it is First Corinthians, First Corinthians chapter 9, verse 24. And this is titled is titled the need for self-discipline, which is very, again, that's something that we all need. In real estate investing, we have to have some self-discipline. It says, do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes in strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever, right? Everyone who goes into real estate investing do it to get a crown. They do it to get a bag. They do it to get wealth. They do it to get fame. Those are all things that won't last. But if you're doing this for generational wealth, you have to understand that you have to keep pushing forward, and that generational wealth will last and outlast you. Okay, we're doing it for our children's children and for our children's children's children. And that's the reason why names like Walmart and Gucci and Louis Vuitton and all these names are still around, and they're going to still be around far past us. The Fords that you're driving, Henry Ford, like that is legacy. That is family generational wealth. Everybody want to talk about the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds.
And the Vanderbilts.
That's right. We're here in Middle Tennessee, the Vanderbilts. You can't go anywhere and not see the name Vanderbilt. We're in Clarksville, Tennessee, and there's Vanderbilt hospitals here. There's Vanderbilt hospitals all over Tennessee.
Yeah.
And so we have to have that same level of perseverance and that same mindset when we go into our real estate investing career, because we're not just doing this to get this prize that we can say that, oh, I was a real estate investor, oh, I made $1 million, oh, I made $2 million, oh, I made $10 million, oh, I made $100 million. Is the generational path that we're creating, right? If you're a wholesaler, wholesaling is right now, okay? Wholesaling will get you a lot of right now money. But if you are not thinking past that, then that is just the price for right now. But if you're looking to build something beyond that, you should think about fix and flipping. You should think about all of these other methods to get your wealth, to get more wealth. And not just that, it brings me to the next topic, which is having a support system, right? Leaning on your network, your mentors, your mastermind groups for support and advice and encouragement. We have several people that on a regular basis we communicate with about deals that they have going on, about areas that they're looking at deals in, and even to the point of, if we don't want a deal, we send it out to our cash buyers. And we love that about our network, because they're building us up and helping us get stronger. We're building them up, helping them get stronger. And because of that, we're all building something that's going to outlast us. And we're all able to continue to push forward and continuing to build a legacy. So make sure that you're leaning on your networks. Make sure that you're leaning on your mentors. Make sure that you're leaning in your mastermind groups. If you're not part of a mastermind group, maybe you don't want to pay for one, or whatever the problem is, get over that. Get to a point where you can. Get to a point where it doesn't bother you to have to come out of pocket for something. Because that saying, it takes money to make money, that's very true. It takes money to really make money. You can make money with no money, but it's going to be slower. It's going to be harder. The race is going to be more challenging for the person who does not have the adequate funds to put into it. But when you get to the point where you have the funds, once you get to that point, you should be seeking out networking, mentorship, and masterminds. Okay, we talked about getting into a challenge. At the beginning of again, if you want to get into our challenge, definitely inbox us so we can send you the information. We're going to be running a challenge every month going forward in the month of 2024 to help you with your real estate investing career. No matter what the extra strategy you want to be in, we're going to have a challenge that's going to help you guys to push forward and to succeed. But if you aren't seeking out those things, if you aren't actively looking to network and grow stronger with people, you're not going to.
And again, I told you I was reading Ecclesiastics, okay? I just have this one thing I want to, it's in Ecclesiastics 4, okay? It says, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, one will lift up his companion. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up. Again, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one be warm alone? Though one may be overpowered by another, two can withstand him. And a threefold cord is not quickly broken. Okay.
That is good.
If that ain't talking about, that is clearly talking about partnerships.
Yep.
Okay.
To my ladies out there, I want you to think about it like this, right? She said threefold cord is better than two-fold cord. A twist and a braid are not the same.
They are not.
You twist that hair, it's gonna fall out. You braid that hair, it's gonna stay long. It's gonna be strong, right? And that's exactly what this is talking about. You know, the farmer that we talked about the corn thing, right? The farmer that is the only person that has to go out and tend to the crop. He's going to be a tired farmer come the end of the 90 days. He may not want to continue on with farming, but the farmer who has a lot of ranch hands or farm hands to help him out, he's going to be a happier farmer. The farmer who can go and get the fertilizer from someone else and who can go and get the this from somebody else, or already has a person who's looking to buy some of the crop once he harvests it. That's going to be a happier farmer, and it's going to keep him motivated to continue to do the work that he's doing. And the same thing with real estate investing. You know, the more that you network with people, the better of an investor you're going to be. If you're in real estate and you're not trying to network with people, find something else to do. Because
it's a lot harder.
You're going to always network with somebody. You got to have a contractor. You got to have a supplier. You got to have tenants. You got to you got to have money.
I mean, unless you work hard and you saved up a lot, but you can make that money make more money when you know how to leverage it. And leveraging it comes with partnerships, and you can't, I mean, so there's never going to be a time where you need to be in here alone. Again, when it clearly says that two can keep each other warm. So the person that has a lot of money needs their money to be making money, but they don't necessarily want to go out and do the work to make it make money.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where you come in, because you want to go and do the work and you want to use their money and they want to give you your money. Okay. So don't believe that there's nobody out there who wants to give you money. If you are looking for that, you look no further.
Yeah.
Okay. You make sure you hit us up and message us, and we can definitely connect.
Yep. And look in your circles, the circles you already have.
Find a network.
You got a friend. If you got a friend that's a crypto investor or a stock trader and they've amassed the wealth doing that, they may be willing to invest in your real estate endeavors as long as it's something that you can show that is going to be profitable for them. So just think about that. Next thing we want to talk about is celebrating small wins. Okay, we're going to speed this up a little bit so we can not make this video too long. But how do we celebrate small wins? I know that earlier we said, you know, don't be lazy, don't be mush, and not be persistent in getting your work done, right? But it is important that you celebrate the small wins. For somebody, just getting that contract was a big win for you. You know, just getting that property to this stage, you know, getting the floors in, that was a challenge. Finally got them windows in. Now, that don't mean that every time something happens that you need to go out and spend more money than what you made for that task. But there's nothing wrong with celebrating the small wins. And that could be whatever it is that celebrating is for you. You know, not saying go to Disney on every milestone, but if that's what...
Maybe it's dinner. Yep. Maybe you just take yourself out to a decent lunch. I mean, it could be, it doesn't have, maybe it's you just sharing with a couple of people and you have your group of people that when you talk to them, they lift you up and they're going to celebrate with like, yes, okay. I have a friend that's like, friend, what? Like, she's going to pump me up, you know? And sometimes that's the call you need to make.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be, like you said, going to Disney or going on some big trip or any of that. Sometimes it's just a small little token. Maybe it's, I'm gonna talk for the ladies. Maybe you haven't got your nails done in a while. Maybe it's just you going to get your nails done. Maybe it's you going to get that haircut that you were wanting to do. Maybe it's just a shirt you wanted to buy. And you said, when this is my little win to myself. It's nothing much. Maybe I bought You know, I talked to some lady that went to a real estate group about a month or so ago, and one of the ladies, she was a realtor, and she said one of her wins is when she has a win, she buys a new pair of shoes. So that's her thing. Her thing was buying a new pair of shoes. Maybe it's a purse, maybe it's a shirt, maybe it's something small, maybe it's some little token, some little item that you just a little that you place somewhere that lets you know that you had a win. It's just for you. So I don't think it has to be anything big. I think it just has to be a symbol for you that you've succeeded.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it's like when you were a kid and the teacher give you that sticker, and man, that sticker was in the trash by the time you got home 9 times out of 10 or whatever. But something about getting that sticker saying that you got a good grade on the test, it just really gave you motivation to get a good grade on the next test. You know, so that's the same thing. It's the same concept. Is give yourself a sticker to celebrate the small wins.
Real quick, while you're getting to, I know you're about to get to probably the next point, but I used to work for, I told you I did insurance, and every time we hit a milestone, they would give us this little pin, and it had different color stones in it. So each color stone meant that you hit a certain kind of, you know, if it was sapphire or ruby or whatever, and they would give it to you, and like people would literally, I mean, you would wear it as a badge. So people would ask you, well, what pin are you on? You know, and that will let them know how good you got. Like, how good are you depending on what pin you're at? And I think that you can do that for yourself. Like, we want to start at some point doing little something like that for our wealth builders.
Yes.
You know, maybe it's a little hammer or a little hard hat. I don't know.
Y'all tell us what you would like. Tell us what you'd like to see. What kind of
maybe you go to a challenge and you get one for the challenge.
Yep.
You know, I don't know. We haven't figured it out yet, but any ideas you got, we are all ears, okay?
So next we're gonna like, how do you overcome obstacles? So, you know, you're gonna have obstacles and setbacks, right? You're gonna have things that are not gonna go your way. If everything went perfect, and I mean, if you're one of those people that everything goes perfect in everything that you do, then you should try to do everything. You know, like because you're an anomaly. But for most of us, not everything goes well. You know, we have obstacles, we have setbacks, we have stumbling blocks. But again, we want to in 2024, we want to do a massive mindset change. We want to shift our mindset to greater. For at church, you know, our pastor said that the word for this year was going to be greater, and it was great to hear him say that, because that was kind of the feeling that we had for this year. We didn't necessarily have a word yet, but the feeling that we have for 2024 is greater. There's going to be, God has so much greater prepared for us in 2024, and we already know it. So part of obtaining to that greater is knowing that your obstacles are not mistakes. Your obstacles are not failures. Like I said earlier, they're lessons in disguise. These are the building blocks to your success. Every milestone that I've ever had in my life, every major thing that I've accomplished in my life, I can look back over the course of that time and see tons of obstacles that I had that led up to it. But once I achieved whatever the goal was, those obstacles were nothing. You know, when I went to boot camp, yeah, I had so many obstacles. I couldn't use a combination lock. Yeah, we didn't have combination. We didn't have lockers when I was in school. Like, my school was small. We didn't have lockers like how, you know, everybody else has lockers. And if you did, you know, you could buy a lock with a key. So I didn't know how to use a combination lock. Boy, that was
I did not.
I had to tell you about that story later. Couldn't swim. I couldn't swim. When I went to Marine Corps boot camp, I could not swim. That was a setback. It took me a week and a half to get myself across the pool with my camis and my weapon and stuff, right? That could have been a setback that could have put me back into the platoon behind me and could have led to me washing out of the Marine Corps. But I look back on that now, and it was just an obstacle. It was an obstacle that once I overcame it, it led to something so much greater. When I got to earn the title of United States Marine, it was one of the happiest moments of my adult life that I can remember, because it was a challenge that was so big that I was able to overcome. But that setback could have been the end of that. When I went to the rifle range, I got not dehydrated. They make you drink so much water that I had washed all the electrolytes out of my body, and I couldn't make a fist. Like my hand wouldn't go no farther than this, so I couldn't even squeeze the trigger. Like I literally would have to pull the trigger like this with my hand clawed up. And again, it was a setback. It was something that could have led to me dropping back into another platoon, which then could have gave me a mindset of failure, and then I could have easily washed out. But I didn't. Right? I didn't even wash back to another platoon. I still graduated on my same platoon. I overcame all those obstacles, but it made achieving that title so much greater because not only did I overcome the regular rigorous activities of Marine Corps boot camp, I overcame something that was in addition to that. And it's like that for a lot of people, right? If you look back over something that you've done, you went to college, there's a time where something happened maybe that caused you to think you were going to fail that test or you were going to fail this class and you thought that it was going to be the end of you now. But then you overcame it. And if you didn't overcome it, now it's the time to learn from that too, right? If something happened in your past that caused you to quote unquote fail at something, what was it about that thing that caused you to label it as a failure? And then how do you overcome that going forward? Because they're all lessons in disguise, right? Everything that happens to us happens for a reason. And, the Bible tells us that we're supposed to count it all joy. Count it all joy. That means that the things that happen great, we count it as joy. The things that happen good, we count it as joy. Because it is all leading up to whatever God's will is for us, right?
Back to whatever, if it don't either works for you or it works on you.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to say that. It is either working on you or for you.
Either way, it's working.
Yep. So the challenge that happened, it worked on you, it worked for you. For some of us, we allowed it to work on us in a negative manner. It gave us a negative viewpoint on something. Maybe we don't do a certain thing because of experience that we had in the past, but we can get past that. We can evolve past that. And these are opportunities for us to adapt to and evolve and become better than what we are.
Absolutely. Just keep that in mind. Like everything isn't a setback, you know what I mean? And change your perspective. It's just a lot of times you just need a perspective change. And once you can change from looking at it in the negative and looking at it in the positive, great things are to come.
Yeah, that's so true.
Okay, because sometimes I have to sit back and I'm like, ooh, okay, what's the reverse of this? The situation may not change, right? But what's the reverse? How can I choose? How can I make a decision to look at it differently? How do I consider to have a good attitude about it? And how do I take how can I take that situation and make it work for me? How can I make sure it doesn't happen again? How do I protect myself from it happening again? You know what I mean? So it's not always a negative outlook that you need. A lot of times you need to take that negative outlook, take a minute, sit in your room, sit in a room by yourself, have a moment, pout a little bit, whatever you got to do, and then look at it from a positive angle.
Yep.
And if you struggle with that, find somebody who can see it in the positive.
There you go. Right there. That's what I was trying to say. Get yourself into a network. Get yourself into a group of people. Because here's the thing that you've labeled as a failure, somebody else has already overcome. Right? And if you learn from my mistake, then it doesn't have to become your mistake. If you and I are and I'm talking directly to you, whoever's watching this right now, if you and I are in the same network, and I've already made a mistake, and I've told you about the mistake, I told you what led to it, and you make the same mistake, one of us did something wrong. Either I didn't do a good enough job explaining the mistake to you, or you didn't do a good enough job learning from the mistake I already made. If I tell you that I just came from down the road and the bridge is out, and you still drive down the road and go over the cliff, either I didn't say, hey, the bridge is out, you can't get past it. Or you said, I'm going to go find out for myself.
While going 100 miles down the road.
Yep. But either way it go, if you get into a group and you get yourself around the right people, you shouldn't have to make the same mistakes that they made, because you're going to be sharing that information. You can go and say, hey, I'm facing this problem. I don't know what to do. Oh, I faced that problem. Here's what I did. And
I mean, we didn't have situations, and I mean, I'm pretty sure we mentioned it before about we had a situation where contract, and we talked to the title company, and we ended up doing like a memorandum. We found a alternative way to going about it. But the reason why we even knew to do that was, one, I remember hearing about it at a real estate group. Second, the title company was able to help us out and mentioned it as well when we said, well, what can we do?
yeah,
And then they said, oh, well, you could do this, but that's about
and
connecting
prepare the paperwork for it, actually.
and prepare. Yeah, right. And so on the deal that we decided to back out of, we still made money.
Yeah.
And that's because we knew we connected with the resources that we had.
Yep. We learn from other people's mistakes.
Yes.
And we all have what we call stumbling blocks, but there's no difference in a stumbling block and a stepping stone, if you really think about it. A stumbling block, a stumbling block is something so small, right? You don't stumble over a big boulder. You stumble over something small. It's the little pebble that's on the ground. That's a stumbling block, right? But what's the difference between that stumbling block and the stepping stone? The only difference is you saw the stepping stone and you stepped on it. You didn't see the stumbling block and you walked into it. You tripped over it, right? So the goal is we're walking we're two groups of people, or two people walking together. I say rock, and you say, oh, rock, and you step on the rock. Now it became a stepping stone. If I tripped over the rock and then you trip over the rock, that's a problem. Either I didn't tell you that there was a rock, or I said rock and you said, you just kept on walking and you tripped over it. Well, that stumbling block for me could have been a stepping stone for you. So think about that. Like, there's no difference, right? You don't stumble over a big boulder.
And when you have a group, when you do stumble and fall, you have somebody who's able to reach down and grab you up. Yep. And pick you up. So when you fall in the group, you got somebody to help you up. When you fall and you by yourself, you gotta do it all alone. You don't have that help, that hand that reaches out to you and says, oh, let me help pull you up real quick.
Yep. And then next, we want to make sure that we're being proactive problem solvers. We want to make sure that we are approaching problems with a solution-oriented mindset. Okay? Nobody likes the person who complains about something but doesn't ever have a solution to the problem. Okay? And the same is true for mentors. As a mentor and as a person who's been a mentee, or we still are mentees. We're always going to be mentees. But especially as a mentor, like, nothing is more disheartening than a person who always has a problem but never has a solution. It's okay to have a problem and then say, hey, I got this problem. I'm thinking about doing this as my solution. That's cool. But the way that you do that is by learning by training your mind to have a problem solving oriented mindset. When you go into a challenge, how do I overcome this? Not, oh, I ran into this and this is going to be the end of it. That's gloomy. That's Igor from Winnie the Pooh. Nobody wants to be the Igor that's always negative and always can't see the way out of something. We want to be the person who's always looking for a solution. The person, and I'm not saying that you got to be optimistic or chipper about it. But the more that you learn how to do this, the more optimistic and chipper you will be with every challenge, because now it becomes a new opportunity for you to overcome something, a new opportunity for you to learn something new, and a new opportunity for you to say, oh, yeah, been there, done that, overcame it. So approach everything with a solution-oriented mindset.
Absolutely. I mean, in James, it talks about you have to consider joy. So you have to make a choice to have joy. And it's not about being chipper and perky and, every day is awesome, but you can definitely have a better perspective on everything. I think that's what the scripture is really, really saying, is that happiness is based off your surroundings and things and events and things that go on, but choosing to have joy is a whole nother thing. It doesn't mean that you're always going to be happy. It means that you're going to have joy in when you're going through something.
Yeah, yeah. And so it brings us to that part of this video, which is we're going to talk about some biblical references for you guys. We want to make sure that you got some biblical references to go in and read up on, and to put into your tool belt, because the Bible is definitely a tool belt. This is your weapon, this is your shield, this is your armor. When they talk about putting on the full armor of God, it's all revolves around His word. And so, what does His word say about us being able to persevere against things? And you brought up James, right? James 1 verse 12, chapter 1 verse 12 says, "Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trials." So again, staying steadfast under trials means that you're going through something. We're always going to be going through something.
We're either going through something or we're coming out of something.
Yep, but even when we're coming out of something, we're about to go right back through something else. So we have to be able to keep a mindset of motivation. We have to be able to figure out ways to motivate ourselves, or to keep ourselves motivated to continue to run the race that is set before us, which then brings me to Hebrews 12. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 1 says, "Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us."
Oh, say that again.
Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us.
For us.
And
for you.
This is, again, is us being able to persist through the ups and downs of any challenge that we come up on. In real estate investing, there's going to be challenges. There's going to be times where the market's going to be slow. Buyers are not going to be buying as much. Foreclosure rates go up. That's a down for somebody, but it's a up for somebody else. Natural disasters happen. It is a down for somebody, but for somebody else, it's an up. There's always an up and down, but it really depends on how your mindset is. How are you looking at this? If I'm the landlord who owns a property that got destroyed in a natural disaster, it does suck. But at the same time, I might get a new house out of it. I mean, it really depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
So, count it all joy. And we'll talk about that different. You guys can drop some comments if you don't like how I said that, but it's just the truth. Galatians chapter 6 verse 9 says, "And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not give up." Right? Let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not give up. The only way you don't reap is if you give up, right? Everybody's heard that saying about the person was digging for gold and they stopped and they were 1 foot away or 1 shovel away from hitting gold. Well, you might be 1 shovel away from striking it rich. You 1 shovel, one inch away from hitting oil. You 1 contract away from getting that deal. You're 1 phone call away from getting that yes. You're 1 offer away from getting that flip property. You're 1 loan application away from getting the approval. You're 1 contractor away from finding the right price. Whatever it is, you may only be 1 away, and the only way that you fail is to give up. So this one again it really encourages us to persist, but to also be patient. Be patient and understand that not everything happens on our time, but all things happen in due time.
And just and one thing I like to just go, I know we're getting long, but I just want to throw this in because again, I was in Ecclesiastics, okay? And one thing I just want to say is that it talks about that doesn't matter pretty much if you're rich or any of these things. The thing is being ready, because it says in Ecclesiastes 9:11, it says, but time and chance happens to them all. And they were talking about the rich, wise, poor, all of those things. All those things happen to everybody. Okay, so it says no favor to men of skill, but time and chance happens to them also. You're going to have time and chance to do it. You just got to be ready when that time and it happens.
Stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready.
Hey.
I know y'all done heard that before. You stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready.
Yes. So
That's true.
so definitely I just want to say, like, if you're always feeding yourself what you need with the skills and sharpening your skills and in all aspects, reading what you need to be reading, getting into the networks and the groups that you need to be in, the time will come.
Yep.
It's just, are you going to be ready to step into it when it comes?
Yep. And y'all, we got a lot of other verses. I got a lot of verses that I actually wrote down on this one. Proverbs 24:16, for the righteous fall 7 times and rise again.
Mm-hmm.
We got Proverbs 3, 6, and 5, 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. And I wanted to read that one, and I wanted to read Philippians 3, chapter 3, verse 14. I press towards the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Jesus Christ, in Christ Jesus. And these two I wanted to finish on because none of the other stuff that we said today is possible without us first leaning on God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, not saying that for those who may consider themselves not to be believers that you won't be successful in life. I'm pretty sure you can. These are principles that work for everybody, right? God created it in that manner so that they work for everybody. But you know, we find that it is the key to success and the key to being able to persevere is having a true connection with God. Your network already started off with you not being alone, whether you know it or not, right? You're already in a network of two,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's you and the Lord. The Lord already got you. So your network is already as strong as it really needs to be. Now all you're doing is adding to. So all of these things are possible. Anything and everything that you want out of life is possible as long as you put God first and as long as you learn how to persevere, right? And that's what I think we're going to conclude this on. And we're going to close out with a prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And but before I do that, I want to make sure that you guys understand, like, we're going to be doing this every single Saturday. All right, for the month, for the year, we're going to be going live every Saturday. Even if we maybe down the road we adjust the times a little bit, but for now we're going to be going live at 2:30 on Saturday, and we want you guys to make sure that you're tuning in. Make sure you jump in the comments and let us know what you think of the episodes, and if there's any particular questions that you have, you could drop us a comment on the YouTube video. But if you want to get a quicker answer, you definitely want to go and join our Facebook group, and make sure that you're dropping your comments and your questions and all of that stuff in the Facebook group. That's where we can help you the best. Okay, the best help we're going to be able to give you is in the Facebook group. And the reason why we push you guys to the Facebook group is because your question may be a question that someone else has. And if you ask that question in the public forum, either someone else may be able to answer it quicker than what we're able to answer, because we also have our own businesses to run. But when we do answer the question, someone else gets the benefit of hearing that answer too. If we give you just one-on-one answers, then you get the benefit, but not everyone else gets the benefit. And sometimes for us, if you ask us a really good question, now it makes double work for us, because now we got to answer it for you and we got to go answer it for somebody else. So we prefer that you ask your questions in the Facebook group, but don't hesitate to drop your comments on this YouTube video as well, or wherever you're consuming this information. Make sure you turn on the notification bell so that you can get notified when we're going live. We don't always have time to drop 3,000 Facebook posts letting you guys know that we're going to be going live on Saturday. Again, we are busy. We have other businesses that we run, and we're always coming up with new things that we're working on. We are serial entrepreneurs. We go where the spirit leads us. So, you never know. But one thing is consistent. We're going to be consistent, and we're going to persevere with making this video. We made the video last week. I wasn't feeling good. Pretty sure we're going to have times coming up where either me, myself, or me, Bunny, or one of the kids aren't feeling good.
Yeah, and we'll try to make sure that if both of us aren't on, one of us will be. You'll have us, okay? Yep. Make sure, like he was saying, get on the Facebook, get on our Instagram, make sure that you're following us on all of our social media platforms. Definitely Facebook community is a great place to get connected. Not that's going to be part of your networking group. Okay, so go ahead and make sure that you get connected. You never know who's in that group, who's going to be able to help you, who's going to be able to connect you. There's lenders in there, so you just want to make sure that you're getting in there and getting connected. Say hello when you do get in. And let's see what we can do to joint venture on something. Let's connect. Let's see how we can help you guys out. And we look forward to it. I really do look forward to meeting everyone and answering any questions that you guys have. And maybe if you need a mentor, you got mentors sitting in front of you right now. So
yep.
Let us know what you're looking for and what you need, and we'll see what we can do to accommodate.
All right. Well,
go into prayer.
Lord God, we want to thank you for, again, giving us the opportunity to come together today for this strategy and training call. Lord, we just want to thank you and give you the honor and the glory for continuing to build each and every one of us up, Lord. We just ask that you would just continue to provide us with wisdom, Lord, provide us with all of the necessities that we need to run this marathon and the understanding to know that this is a marathon and not a race, Lord. We're not in a sprint. This is a marathon that with you as the end goal, Lord, we ask that you continue to bless us so that we can be a blessing to others, Lord, whether that be financially or intellectually, whatever it is, Lord, whatever blessings you give unto us, we want to be the cup that is overflowing and able to spill onto those that are around us, Lord. We just thank you for this audience that you've given us the opportunity to spread your word, Lord, and just for your word, Lord, and these instruction manuals that you've already provided us with, Lord. Until we meet again next week, Lord, we just pray that you will provide each and every one of our viewers with the abundance and the mindset of what it means to be righteous and holy unto you, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.